It's 6 p.m. on Friday here in Korea. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. And these are the top headlines we're following this evening. Deputy nuclear envoys from South Korea, the U.S. and Japan meet in Tokyo to take a step closer in denuclearizing North Korea. Korea's industrial output rises for the first time in 4 months, but it's not all good news as the growth was tempered by sluggish consumption due to the MERS outbreak. And Korea reports 2 more deaths from the scorching heat, causing experts to voice concerns over global warming. We start with the renewed international efforts to coax North Korea back to talks on its nuclear weapons program. Senior officials from South Korea, the U.S. and Japan met in Tokyo this afternoon. On the back of its recent nuclear deal with Iran, the U.S. hopes Pyongyang can be convinced to return to the negotiating table. Our Hyun-bin starts us off.
The deputy nuclear envoys of South Korea, the United States, and Japan met for 3-way talks in Tokyo on Friday to discuss ways to resume the long-stalled 6-party talks aimed at the denuclearization of North Korea. This latest meeting comes amid a flurry of diplomatic activity between all the members of the 6-party talks, with the exception of Pyongyang. Gunn, South Korea's Director General for North Korean Nuclear Affairs at the Foreign Ministry, joined his Japanese and U.S. counterparts Shigeki, Takizaki, and Seiler in Tokyo. Seiler is the U.S. Special Envoy for the 6-party talks and arrives at the meeting fresh from separate one-on-one talks with Kim and his Chinese counterpart earlier this week. Seoul and Washington have been stepping up efforts to revive the 6-party framework, following the historic nuclear deal the U.S. sealed with Iran this month. There had been increased optimism North Korea could be tempted to follow in Tehran's footsteps. But the regime has vocally rebuffed efforts for talks on its nuclear program over the past couple weeks. Following his meeting with Kim in Seoul on Monday, Seiler said the two sides would try to apply lessons learned from the Iran deal to bring North Korea back to the negotiating table. Both South Korea and the U.S. believe China, North Korea's closest ally, will put more pressure on the regime to resume talks. The 6-party talks that involve the two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia, have been stalled since late 2008. Watchers say Friday's meeting in Tokyo will likely be used as a forum to coordinate the 3 countries' position on the North Korean nuclear issue, before it's discussed at the ASEAN Regional Forum in Malaysia next week. Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
We now turn to domestic politics, where main rival parties remain at loggerheads over the recent hacking scandal involving the nation's spy agency. The ruling Saenuri Party has chosen a strategy of ignoring the opposition bloc's attempt to make an issue out of the allegations. It claims that there should be no doubts, as the NIS chief reported to the National Assembly earlier this week, that there were no illegal activities concerning the agency's use of the Italian malware program. The ruling party added that further dispute would only hamper the nation's intelligence activities. However, main opposition NPAD is considering adopting a parliamentary inspection or independent counsel on the matter to seek the truth and straighten up the nation's spy agency. Due to the rift caused by the scandal, the rival parties have yet to agree on a specific agenda for the August extraordinary session. On now to the latest drama unfolding in an ugly succession battle at one of Korea's biggest business groups, Lotte. The power plays continue as the founder's 2 sons jockey for control. With key family members in attendance at a memorial rite for the founder's father, speculation mounts that the family will meet to address the internal feud. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Key family members of Lotte Group are in Seoul to attend a memorial service for the father of the group's 92-year-old founder, Shigeki. Conspicuous by his absence is younger son Shin Dong-bin, who was currently in Japan while his mother arrived on Thursday. With the gathering of key relatives, there's speculation that the family will convene to discuss the ongoing feud. The absence of the younger son, however, is leading to speculation that family members may unite against the younger Shin. This comes amid an ugly battle as the founder's 2 sons are engaged in a power struggle for the throne. Just days after a failed attempt to remove his younger brother from Lotte Holdings, the group's de facto holding company based in Japan, the elder son Shin Dong-ju on Thursday unveiled a document signed by his father ordering the termination of his younger brother and several other board members. He claimed that another document showed that he was reappointed as the head of the holding company. In January, the elder Shin was stripped of his titles of 3 Lotte affiliates. However, the younger Shin, who heads Lotte Group based in Seoul and was appointed as the head of Lotte Holdings earlier this month, claimed that it was invalid due to failure to complete required processes and also cited his father's poor judgment due to old age. On Tuesday, the younger son also fired his father as chief executive and general chairman, demoting him to the position of honorary president and putting himself at the helm of the retail giant. It remains to be seen who will gain the upper hand in this ongoing dispute. The matter will be voted at a future shareholder meeting, although a date has yet to be confirmed. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, some positive economic figures have been released on this final day of July, raising hopes that the country is recovering from the recent MERS outbreak. But as our Kwon So-ah reports, it might be too early to tell.
Korean manufacturers were more positive in July compared to the month before, when the MERS outbreak and sluggish exports dragged sentiment to a 6-year low. The Bank of Korea said Friday that its business survey index for July rose to 70, 4 points higher than June, and the first on-month rise in 3 months. The forecast for August also stands at 70. The central bank attributes the uptick to Korea's gradual recovery from the MERS outbreak and growing expectations for exports. However, the index is lower than the corresponding figures for April and May, an indication that businesses are still suffering from the consequences of the outbreak. A reading below 100 indicates that pessimists outnumber optimists. In a different report released by Statistics Korea Friday, the nation's industrial output rebounded for the first time in 4 months in June, as it inched up 0.5%. This is mainly due to greater production in the mining and manufacturing sectors, as well as increased demand for refined petroleum and machinery equipment products.
A high base effect and more operating days contributed to the rebound in those sectors. But the concern lies in the service sector and consumption, which dropped even lower than in the same month last year.
In fact, retail sales plunged by 3.7% from the month before. That's much greater than the 0.8% drop in April last year after the Seiler ferry accident. This is why experts say that economic indicators in July and August will become the key factors in determining whether Korea is on a clear path towards recovery or if the effects of the MERS outbreak will continue to linger. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Korea has issued acceptance of the World Trade Organization's historic $1 trillion trade deal, making it the 9th country out of 161 WTO members to do so. The TFA is the first and most comprehensive multilateral agreement to be concluded since the WTO's inception 20 years ago, but will not enter into force until it's ratified by the required 2/3 of the membership, or 108 countries. The International Chamber of Commerce forecasts that the agreement will unlock a potential of over $1 trillion in global economic value and create at least 21 million new jobs once it enters into force. The pact is also expected to boost Korea's GDP and exports in the long run. Now, North Korea's top official is calling for the loyalty of its war veterans, with speculation that the North Korean leader is struggling to tighten his grip on the regime. Some analysts say it represents another one of Kim Jong-un's efforts to reaffirm stability within North Korea. Our Connie Kim reports.
North Korea's top official has requested the loyalty of its Korean War veterans in an apparent move to consolidate support for the reclusive regime's leader. The North state-run Korean Central Television said Friday that its leader Kim Jong-un has praised senior soldiers for their efforts in the Korean War at a ceremony held Thursday. Accompanying Kim at the ceremony, the regime's ruling Workers' Party Secretary Choi Ryong-hae called for the veterans' fidelity for the leader until their final moments. Choi also asked the senior veterans to pass on their spirit to the younger generation in order to carry on their legacy. Experts say such move from the top military official is an indication that Kim is still struggling to tighten his grip on the reclusive regime.
Kim Jong-un's leadership succession training period was very short. He is less experienced and less charismatic compared to his late father and grandfather. Kim is trying to win support from its people through various events like this one.
Analysts say that instability in the regime is also reflected in the young North Korean leader's so-called fear politics. There have been recent reports that Kim's reign of terror has even caused some officials to seek escape from the regime. Last May, South Korea's National Intelligence Service said Kim ordered the execution of Defense Minister Hyun-bin, a move which experts say will increase fear of its leader. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
More than 200 South Koreans from all walks of life have arrived in Berlin after an almost 3-week-long train journey across Asia and Europe. During the course of their more than 14,000-kilometer journey, the passengers have been promoting Seoul's so-called Eurasia initiative. Our Han Da-eun has the details.
These members of the Eurasia Express expedition have traveled across 1/3 of the Earth's surface via train, aiming to boost Korea-Eurasia friendship and raise awareness for the need for peace in the region. After 18 days of their historic journey, they arrived in Berlin, their final destination and a symbol of peaceful reunification.
My grandfather is Son Gi-jung, who won Korea's first Olympic medal here in Berlin. But sadly, as a Japanese delegate, it's truly meaningful for me to trace his footsteps, marking the 70th anniversary of Korea's independence.
Since embarking on the special journey on July 14th from Seoul, the team has traveled 14,400 kilometers across China, Russia, and Europe, a distance that's 33 times longer than that of Seoul to Busan. Along the way, they held various events designed to bring Korea and Eurasia closer together, events they can cherish for a lifetime. The members organized global festivals at Lake Baikal of Siberia, where many Russians, Eurasians, and other Asians held hands to dance, and also paid tribute to Korean ancestors that sacrificed their lives fighting for the nation's independence in Russia's maritime province. In Moscow, a concert marking the 25th anniversary of the establishment of Korea-Russia relations was held, building up the trip's festive mood. Foreign Minister Yoon who joined the last leg of the expedition from Poland to Germany, communicated and exchanged views with the members, mostly comprised of college students. The expedition members are set to march the streets of Berlin, hoping for the peaceful reunification of the two Koreas. With a grand finale performance, the friendly expedition for peace will come to a rest. And then, Arirang News.
Following reports this week of deaths resulting from the scorching weather conditions in Korea, 2 more people died today. The heat wave has now claimed the lives of 4 people as it continues to sweep across the country. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed Friday that a man and a woman in their 70s died while working in a field. All 4 victims suffered from heat stroke while working outside in hot temperatures. Korea's CDC advises elderly people to avoid outdoor activities between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. and drink a lot of water. In regards to the sweltering heat, some experts say the situation is going to get much worse if nothing is done to tackle climate change. And our Son Jung-in has the details.
When strong sunlight beats down on a city, the concentration of asphalt and buildings creates so-called urban heat islands, which can send the mercury through the roof during the hot summer months. A worrying combination of global warming and rapid urbanization in Korea has caused the average number of heat wave days in a year to rise from 11.2 between 1981 and 2005 to 12.7 between 2010 and 2014. On top of this, the number of tropical nights nearly doubled from 5.3 days to 9.7 days over the same period. So what will happen if this trend continues and nothing is done? Weather experts predict that with the continued emission of greenhouse gases, the number of heat wave days in Korea will surge fivefold to more than 56 days of heat wave a year in the year 2100. Factoring in the aging population, the number of heat-related deaths in Seoul is expected to rise more than fourfold from 100 during the 1991 to 2012 period to 450 in the 2030s.
There's a growing number of people in Korea that are vulnerable to extreme heat. It's mainly down to a sharp increase in global temperatures, our aging society, and rapid urbanization.
Experts say action has to be taken now to counter the fundamental threat climate change poses to the livelihoods of the people. 손정인, Arirang News.
And that brings us to the end of our newscast. More updates coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time, so stay tuned and goodbye for now.